Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Utapad Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणः ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we will continue our seventh chapter. Very important sloka we are in. Text 14. दैविहि एष गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते. The divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are parts of His energies and are therefore divine, due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures are being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. So the conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Baddha or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the supreme will, which the living entity cannot overcome. So it's a very important principle that is getting conveyed here. And those who have attended our recent Gita overview session, we have highlighted this particular point very much. The aspect of we have the capacity to desire, the Lord has the capacity, Lord sanctions our desires, and the material nature just obediently follows the Lord in fulfilling whatever the Lord is actually ordering the material nature of. So in that way, there are many different factors are there, and for anything to happen in this world, and the material nature is completely controlled by the Lord. Daivihi esha gunamayi. So, and we are also energy of the Lord. We are also energy of means we are also divine in that sense. But then the thing is, the material nature cannot disobey the Lord, but the living entity can take a stance saying that no, I don't want to obey the Lord. Okay. So but still, if we don't want to obey the Lord in the straight way, then we have to obey the Lord in another way. So that is the way of getting attached to the material nature, and the Lord puts us in three modes of nature, and then the three modes of nature dictate. So then we become addicted to the three modes of nature, and to come out of it, no, we cannot come out of it, or we cannot manipulate the modes of nature. So it appears that we are manipulating modes of nature, but actually we cannot manipulate the modes of nature. So why does the Lord have to put us into mode of nature? It's the subtle aspect. I don't know, it's this is a thought process which you have ever gone through this thought process or not. This This Lord is putting us into material nature, and it's so much of difficulty and forgetfulness and things like that. And here the Lord is telling this Maya is my energy. Daivihi esha gunamayi mama Maya duratyaya. So it is my energy, and I have kept the living entities in illusion. Why would the Lord do this thing? Why the Lord has to put the living entities into illusion? So any answers for this? Why the Lord would like the living entities to be in illusion? It's a very, very important thing to understand. If we wrongly understand this thing, then the Lord is probably he doesn't like some souls. He has kept them in illusion. No, why not he give the knowledge to them? No. So why this illusion is there? So we can actually lose appreciation by understanding this, wrongly understanding this concept, and we will gain appreciation for the Lord if we rightly understand this concept. Any idea why the Lord puts the living entity into illusion, where He is the controller of the illusion? It's because of karma. Okay, he can give release from everything. No, what is karma for him? It's like nothing. The Lord can actually, forgive everything and close all the accounts, and he can make everybody happy. Out of our desire. Yeah, so we have a desire to be separate from the Lord. So then Lord can let us be there separately, and leave us aside, right? So why the Lord puts his own personal energy of three modes of nature and then control us? And probably if I'm not controlled by three modes of nature, maybe I'll be good. So now the modes of nature is making me bad. No. So why should the Lord put these three modes of nature on top of us and control us? Why not he leave us free? So one important tattva we need to understand in this is we are always a dependent entity. We don't have an existence, like just like we see that this body is functioning because of soul. If soul leaves the body, then the body becomes a dead body, right? So we have our individual existence. We cannot think when Lord says that, aham bija pratapita, so I am the seed giving father of all living entities. So we cannot think that, okay, no, we have also children, and they have their individuality and I have my individuality. So the Lord and us, the relationship is not like that. The Lord and us relationship is, yeah, it's like father and son, or child, that kind of a relationship. Lord claims definitely it is there, but it is much more than that. It's almost, it's like the body and soul. So we, the living entities, are able to function because of our connection with the Lord. If we lose our connection with the Lord, then what will happen? We will not be there, we will not exist. It's a question of existence. So now if I want to be separate from the Lord, and the Lord separates us, it means like we are finished. No, we cannot have an existence at all. It's an existential question. So like we have to be in connection with the Lord at any given point in time. So if we want to be away from him, there is only one way that we can be away from him, that is to forget him. No, if we have to forget him, that means illusion. So the Lord gives this ignorance to us. That is also a mercy of the Lord. No, otherwise, if not for this ignorance, we would have gone finished. We would have been extinct. And that's not possible. A spirit can never become extinct. No spirit, that is what we studied in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that the soul can never be cut into pieces, the soul can never be burnt, the soul can never be attacked by any weapons and things like that and all, right? So if we want the attachment with the Lord, will he do it? Yeah, that's what is the devotional service. The whole point of devotional service is to cultivate the desire, no, cultivate the intense desire to have the Lord. No. So then we will have him. So that's the whole point of devotional service. The whole battle that we are going through is that our desire for sense gratification has to be rooted out, and our desire to serve the Lord has to be brought about. no, this is the battle that we are going through. And rest everything, like all externals, so many things may happen, as a matter of in the course of time. It all doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is my desire for sense gratification turned into love for Krishna? That's the whole point. If that is missed out, everything else is missed out. No, there is no point in following all the rules and regulations and all the vratas and this and that if we cannot come to this point of intensely wanting to serve the Lord for His pleasure. Cultivation is also depending upon His choice. No, we have our choice. If the results depends upon Him, but what we want is what we want. No, we can express ourselves. The prayers, they are a real entity. When we do prayers, it's like why in all religions the prayers are like very very highly praised, because that's an expression of desire. No, my Lord, I want to serve you, I want to be with you, and no, please accept me as a servant. So that's a prayer, that's an expression of my choice, right? So the prayer is very very important. And in this way we see that the Lord puts us in ignorance. If not for ignorance, we would be extinct. We would not be there at all. That's the other option is there. One is we are favorably connected to Krishna, we are serving Krishna, that's like really good. And if it is not, if we want to be away from Krishna, the only way is that Krishna will have to be there to give us enjoyment here also. Krishna will have to be there, organize the air for us to breathe, organize the food for us to eat, organize the three modes of nature so that all our material desires can be fulfilled. So all these things He has to organize, because without the touch of Him, we cannot exist. We have to be there in touch with the Lord. So in that way, like we see that we have to be in touch with the Lord at all the time. If we are directly in touch with the Lord, understanding He is the Lord, so then we are Krishna conscious. If we are indirectly in touch with the Lord, that means not understanding He is there, not understanding His personality, that's called illusion. Illusion keeps the sustenance of those living entities who don't want to be with the Lord, whereas the Lord has to be there. And he's just hiding behind the screens, saying that, okay, no, you think that you are doing everything, but the Lord is only providing everything. So this is like heights of compassion, heights of love for the living entity, right? So the ignorance that the Lord puts us in is also heights of love. Otherwise He could have just closed and kept all the souls, put them to sleep, and or just what is that, quarantine them somewhere. So that's quite possible for the Lord, but then the Lord gives the choice of action for every living entity, and then He allows them to be there. Like if they want to forget Him and be away from Him, He allows them to do so, right? So it's the extreme mercy of the Lord, actually. So if we understand it in a wrong way, oh, Lord is putting me through all the three modes of nature, it is just like he's just like a sadistic person. He just simply wants to see me suffer, that's all, right? So then it becomes a very very horrible philosophy to understand about God. Okay, so what's the difference between prayer and appreciation of the Lord? We can appreciate the Lord, that's called Shantarasa, and in Dasya onwards, the prayer comes. So like just simple appreciation of the Lord is called Shanta. So, but anyway, like the appreciation of the Lord means um, so I appreciate a person, but then what am I going to do for him? So that is when then comes the prayer and service and things like that. So generally appreciating the Lord is good. So on top of it, what am I going to do for him? And how am I going to like, what is it, be in association with him and things like that. So that develops, then when that develops, it's very good. Okay, so I think Lord becomes subordinate to the desires of the devotee. When we choose to be away, He keeps us away, and He does bring us close when we choose to come close to Him in the form we like to worship. Okay, so we cannot just like that choose also. So then the Lord sent the devotees, so who are attached to Him, and then the devotees go and convince, saying that you should surrender to the Lord. The Lord will never come and the living entity on his own. he cannot come to the point of worship of the Supreme Lord. It is not possible. And then, because he is dealing with material nature, no amount of material combination can bring or can bring a result of spiritual result. No, that's not possible. So, if we have to get spiritual thought, there needs to be a spiritual input, and the Lord is not going to give that input, because he's just we just asked him, I want to be away from you, and he agreed for that proposal, and he will never come and intervene in that. So the Lord is very, very compassionate, so he sends devotees. He sends them. See, I cannot do this. I have given a word to this living entity. I will not disturb him. No, he wanted to be away from me, and I have agreed for it. But I cannot go and tell him that now you come back. So, but Lord arranges devotees. You go and tell. No, you go and tell to this living entity. No, you have given up the Lord's company, and no, this is why you are in ignorance. Please, no, you just desire to get back to the association of the Lord. The Lord will again take you back. Just do this. So that's the job of a devotee. No, we are trying to do this book marathon, we are trying to preach. So what is our job? What we are trying to do, we are just trying to tell the living entities around that you have forgotten the Lord. The Lord likes you so much. Even though you don't want the Lord, he comes as Paramatma, he sits with you, he always is there by your side, and he is arranging for all your needs all the time. Now who in this earth will do all this thing? And that too for a person who doesn't want to be with you, and who's like sometimes, who scolds God, and who calls names on God and things like that. No, we have done it all in many, many births. All possible things we have done it. So, and still the Paramatma doesn't leave. Still the Lord doesn't leave. So such a merciful entity is there. So we have to turn our faces towards him, and we have to become his devotee. So that's the job of a devotee. No, we have the devotees, we try to do this thing. No, we try to send out this message of Krishna consciousness to everyone. So that's a great service. No, Lord appreciates that service. Lord feels for all the living entities, and Lord is really, really worried about all the living entities, and the Lord feels for them. And that feeling is communicated when devotees go and preach the message of Krishna consciousness. So we are already in spiritual world. Will he help us in elevation in we are already in spiritual world? Will he help us in elevation in it? If we are already in spiritual world, that's perfection. So there's nothing more to go there, not do there. So here only elevation and all these stuffs are there, but in spiritual world, it's complete perfection. So we can be there just like that. So okay, so we'll get back to our reading. So it's very important aspect that the material nature is completely controlled by the Lord, and this control is because the no this is the Lord puts us into this illusion of material energy. It's because of his mercy. No, we told that we don't want to be with you, and it's mercy of the Lord that he puts us into illusion. No, otherwise the third option would have been no uh, we are extinct. No, so we don't want to be with him. So the other option is okay, you forget the Lord, but you need the shelter of the Lord to survive. So the Lord does everything for you, but no, you cannot understand that he is doing. So that's illusion, and that's what we are in. And then the third option is, okay, I don't he doesn't want to be there with me, so no, finish him off. No, so there is no this one, why to maintain such an entity. So without me, the Lord can think, no, without me he cannot survive, and he doesn't want to be there with me. So no, finish him off. So that's the third option that is there, but Lord will never do that. Lord is very, very merciful. Okay, so the conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Baddha, because when he is conditioned, there is no chance that he can come out of this conditional existence. If he is an illusion, he is illusion forever. Only exception is when a devotee comes and intervenes. There is no other way. No, a living entity can get to Krishna consciousness. It's not possible. Okay, so no one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in the material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of material nature is very difficult. As deep rooted is the problem, the solution is also very, very deep rooted. Okay, even though that material nature is an inferior energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the supreme will, which the living entity cannot overcome. This is a very powerful point, Material nature is an inferior nature, but still we are a superior nature. We are spirit, and material nature is dull matter, and that's inferior to spirit. And how is that inferior material nature is overcoming the superior spiritual nature of the Lord? So it is because that we are tatastha. No, we are tatastha means tat. We all know this word tat in the Hindi. Like if there is a shore that is there, ocean shore or any shore is called as tat. No, tatastha means like that entity which is there on the border. So either I can fall on the spiritual side or I can fall on the material side. No, the both options are there. I have to be there in one of the shelters, either in spiritual yoga maya shelter or material mahamaya shelter. So either one of the shelters I have to be there in. So if I don't want to accept the yoga maya shelter, then I fall into the mahamaya shelter of the Lord, and it is not possible for me to overcome. It's a very, very important point. It's not like by my choice, by random choice, I will suddenly start worshiping the Lord sometime. It's not possible, right? It's very difficult or it's impossible to overcome the material nature and bring about Krishna consciousness in our system by ourselves. It requires the intervention of a devotee. Okay, so why devotee? Because he carries Krishna in the heart and he distributes, Krishna to others. So that's how the Krishna comes into our life. Okay, inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by the divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation, right? So this is very amazing thing. No, it's this is a like a point to be pondered about a lot. Being conducted by the divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in construction and destruction of cosmic manifestation. We may be an ordinary devotee, but if we allow ourselves to be used by the Lord, no, the Lord will do miracles through us. It's possible. So, and in the process, we should not think that we are doing things. So we should always think that it's Lord's mercy, that He's wonderfully using a useless person. I am a useless person, but then He is so wonderfully using me, and He's doing so many wonderful things, right? So that's how we can actually see that material nature is inferior, but because it has been employed by the Lord, it acts so wonderfully, right? So the Vedas confirm this as follows: Mayam tu prakritim vidyan, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. Although Maya illusion is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the supreme magician, the personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwara, the supreme controller. Right. So here we see that this amazing sloka, it talks about that this Maya is not that powerful in itself because it has the touch of the Lord. It's so wonderful and powerful. Right. Okay. Another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that the conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who is unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. So this is a nice thing that if the Lord is going to, the devotee is going to come and intervene in our life, and he's going to give us Krishna consciousness. He's going to induce us into the path of Krishna consciousness. But who has the capacity to lift us? It is no. Of course, we can say that devotees lifts us, and the spiritual master lifts us from the material world. And spiritual master is a direct manifestation of the supreme personality of Godhead. It's actually Krishna who is lifting us out through so many different manifestations. And in that way, like if Krishna has to lift us, then if he is also under the modes of nature, so then how can he lift us? And spiritual master is a person who can lift, so he is also not under the modes of nature because of his tight connection with the supreme Lord and unbroken service to the supreme Lord. So in that way, like he is also liberated. So a person who is liberating us must be liberated himself, otherwise he cannot liberate us. Okay. So therefore, only Lord Krishna or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from the bondage of material nature. So in the before this one discussion, we were discussing this point that Lord cannot do anything. It's only a devotee can do. It's only a devotee can come and induce us to Krishna consciousness. So who is this devotee? This devotee is not different from the Lord. For at least for a sadhaka, we should see that no one who has saved us from the material pool is non different from the Lord. That's how we actually honor the spiritual master, right? So Srila Prabhupada, he has come and he has delivered this message of Krishna consciousness. So we do everyday Guru Puja for Srila Prabhupada. So like worshipping as good as the Supreme Lord. We don't subscribe to the Mayavad philosophy where we say Guru is God himself. No, but because the Guru is such a unalloyed servant of the Lord, so he is offered no worship as such. Srila Prabhupada used to say that if our Indian ambassador goes to a foreign country, so then the foreign country will treat that person, the ambassador from India, so as good as whatever is the respect that needs to be given to the nation, that much respect is given to that person, who's representing the country. So in the same way, here also, like the spiritual master is very, very dear to Krishna. So because of that, he is worshipped as such as the Supreme Lord. So in that way, we see that it's Lord's manifestation. The Supreme Lord, the spiritual master is a Lord's manifestation in our life. And then, Lord actually deals with this subject in this way. Whenever we see that a devotee was rescued, a living entity was rescued from the material world, immediate, this one is what? Like, who's the devotee who did this job? So, but the statement says a devotee rescued him. But then the immediate question comes is like, who's that person? No, who's that person? Who's the devotee who did this job? So, because the Lord works through his devotees in this way, so he doesn't directly give Krishna consciousness. He always gives Krishna consciousness through his devotees. Okay. So without such a superior help, one cannot be freed from bondage of material nature. Devotional service of Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul, and out of his parental affection for the living entity, who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. No, so Krishna concludes Bhagavad Gita, in fact, in this note, saying that Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Charanam Vraja. So aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayashami ma suchaha. So if somebody surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, so then that becomes the release of his material ties, and the material modes of nature cannot control him anymore. Okay. So the words Mam Eva are also significant. Mam means unto Krishna, Vishnu only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Rajoguna and Tamoguna to release the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. So that means even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot give release from the clutches of Maya. So, of course, we have seen that Lord Shiva sometimes gives liberation and things like that. So, definitely Brahma cannot do. Brahma is a living entity, and he's called as the Guna avatar. He's the Guna avatar of Rajoguna. So, he's called as an avatar of the Lord. But then, as we had discussed in the past in the Bhagavatam discussions, so this avatar is a little different. It's not the Vishnu coming personally. It's a living entity entrusted or empowered with a certain potency. No, that's also called as an avatar. Lord's potency is being invested upon a living entity, right? So that kind of an avatar is Lord Brahma. So he cannot give liberation for sure. And then Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is Ishvara. No, he's not in the category of Jiva. He's not in the category like us. He's Ishvara. He's on the category of God. And how can the Lord Shiva cannot give liberation? Of course, Lord Shiva can give liberation. He can actually let us out of this material world. But if we see, no, Lord Shiva, if we see in the material world, Vishnu and Lord Shiva has almost equal capacities. No, Lord Shiva can be the Antaryami. He can know everything that is happening. He can be present everywhere. and he can sarvagya, he can, and he, as in, he knows everything, and all those aspects, most of the aspects which the Lord has, no, are all present in Lord Shiva also, but it is localized only to the material world. Lord Shiva doesn't have the jurisdiction in the spiritual world, and Lord Krishna has the jurisdiction of both spiritual and material world. Right? So both are Ishwaras, but Lord Shiva is a localized Ishvara who's only in the material world, and Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu is there, no, all pervasive, both material and spiritual, this one realms. So because of this, Lord Shiva can, because Lord Shiva is the controller of the material energy, and Lord Shiva is the what is that? He can let a living entity out of this material world. That's possible. That's there in the capacity of Lord Shiva. But then it's not possible for the living entity to sustain, no, in that kind of a sense. So we have this like shloka that aruhya kachena param padam tata patanti ada nadrita yushmadangre. One who has not taken the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna, so he cannot maintain himself in the liberated position. He has to fall down back into the material world at any point in time. No, so because of that, that liberation which is given by Lord Shiva is not counted as liberation only, because it's a matter of time. The living entity again will come back into the material world because he has not developed attraction to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So that's a problem. So in that way, even Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot give release, no, for anyone. So liberation is not possible to be given by these two great personalities. They can only give us better position in the material world, not release from the what is that? Not unconditional release from the material world. No. So Lord Shiva can release us, but then that release doesn't have much value because we may come back into the material world again. So this is of Lord Shiva in the capacity of a devata, but Lord Shiva in the capacity of a devotee of the Lord, oh, he can. He's the greatest spiritual master. He can give release. No, he can actually give us the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. No, because Lord Shiva is perfectly performing the role of a devotee. Vaishnavana Meta Shambhu. The greatest of all Vaishnavas is Lord Shiva. So in that way, we can. This is also a statement of Bhagavatam. So in that way, like no, Lord Shiva in the capacity of a devotee, he can actually liberate us, no, truly. No, but then in the capacity of a in charge of Tamagun, no, he cannot. So, okay. So only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, he alone can give release to the conditioned soul. The Vedas, Svetasvatara Upanishad confirms this in the phrase Tam eva viditva, or freedom is possible only by undertaking Krishna, understanding Krishna. Even Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Vishnu. No, that is why Vishnu has this name Mukunda. No, one who gives mukti is called Mukunda. So, so da means to give, dadati, and mu means mukti, no, Mukunda. So Lord Shiva says, Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnur eva na samshayah. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. Right? Okay. Text 15. Namam duskritino mudah prapadyante naradamah mayapahataknyana asuram bhavamashritah. O miscreants, those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Purport. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that simply by surrendering oneself unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Personality Krishna, one can surmount the stringent laws of material nature. At this point, a question arises: how is it that educated philosophers, scientists, businessmen, administrators, and all the leaders of the ordinary men do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the all powerful personality of Godhead? Mukti, or liberation from the laws of material nature, is sought by the leaders of mankind in different ways with great plans and perseverance for many great years and births. But if that liberation is possible simply by surrendering unto the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, then why don't these intelligent and hardworking leaders adopt this simple method? Very, very amazing question, right? So, Anybody would like to answer this question? Prabhupada puts a nice question in this one. No, there is so many wonderful leaders are there, and they're striving for it. So if you see, like we want this rights, we want that rights, and so much of this one is there. Like no, everybody is working for liberation. And the politician, when he comes into the power, he says like, I will wipe out poverty. I will create so much of job opportunity in that way. I will wipe out no unemployment, and I will fix this crisis, that crisis. It's all what I'll award liberation for the people, right? So that's what they are, no, they are working towards. They are working towards getting liberation, and if they can understand, all these intelligent people, if they get to know that just by surrendering unto the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, you will get liberation. Every single one of the problems will be solved. So then, why these intelligent guys not taking shelter of Supreme Lord? It's a very, very important question. Anyone would like to answer? Hari Hari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so we will read the answer from Prabhupada. No. Somebody wants to answer?
Yes, Prabhuji, can I answer?
Sorry,
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
So this thing, actually those people are material, so that's why maybe
What is that?
those people who are working for liberation, the way think
Hmm.
actually like only material things can be done in liberation, like in karma yoga.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Sorry.
No, it's amazing answer he's giving. It's amazing answer. Very, very nice. So yeah, so their intelligence is stolen off by the material nature, and they are all trying to do things with without Krishna, and they don't get this good knowledge of surrendering to Krishna, right? So let's read Prabhupada's answer. The Gita answers this question very frankly. Those really learned leaders of society like Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, the Kumaras, Manu, Vyasa, Devala, Asita, Janaka, Prahlad, Bali, and later on Madhvacharya, Ramanucharya, Sri Chaitanya, and many others who are faithful philosophers, politicians, educators, scientists, etc., surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Person, the all powerful authority. Those who are not actually philosophers, scientists, educators, administrators, but who post themselves as such for material gain, do not accept the plan or path of the Supreme Lord. Okay, there is an answer in the chat box. Because they feel their power is because of their ability and fail to understand their ability is also mercy of the Lord. Yes, no, this is like, no, it's very nicely put down here. Namam Dushkritino. Dushkriti means like those people who are not having good merits. Kriti means merits. So Dushkritino, Muda means grossly foolish, and Naradama, and Narada means like lowest among the human beings, and then Maya Apahata Jnana, those people's knowledge which has been stolen away by the material nature, and Asuram Bhavam Ashrita. So it's like, no, somebody may say, we have seen this thing many times happening, that no, if there is a fight with somebody, and then there is something that needs to be done through that person. So just because we have a fight with that person, we will not go and ask from him, no, I want this favor. We'll say like, no, I will do it myself. No, why will I go and beg from him? No, and things like that. So the living entity considers the Lord as an enemy, and he is envious of the Lord. I don't want to go and take shelter of him. I will fix it myself. No, that's the position of the living entities. They don't want to take shelter of the Supreme Lord, and they want to fix it themselves. No, they are in ignorance. So they are ignorance because of this asurim bhava. So like they have this dvesha buddhi towards the Lord all the time. They maintain this enmity and envy towards the Lord. So that's the key and core contamination that we are trying to purify ourselves, is that we have this deep rooted envy and enmity towards the Lord, and that has to be cured. And if that is cured, all the problems are solved. No, that's the crux of the problem, right? That's a very, very deep rooted central point of our sadhana, central point of our this one. And that's why in all our devotional service, Chanting we should do for the pleasure of the Lord. Cooking we should do for the pleasure of the Lord and offer it to the Lord. And whatever remnants are there, we accept it as prasad. And then we should offer flowers. We should offer tulsi leaves to the lotus feet of the Lord. We should smell the flowers that are offered to the Lord. So this is all a way in which we can actually offer pleasure to the Lord and get back to our devotional service, get back to our original position, and remove this dvesha buddhi, remove this enmity towards the Lord, right? So that's our major battle that we are trying to fight. Okay, so they have no idea of God. They simply manufacture their own worldly plans and consequently complicate the problems of material existence in their vain attempts to solve them. Because material nature is so powerful, it can resist the unauthorized plans of the atheist and baffle the knowledge of planning commissions. The atheistic plan makers are described herein by the word duskritinaha, so, or miscreants. Kriti means one who has performed meritorious work. The atheistic plan maker is sometimes very intelligent and meritorious also, because because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must take intelligence to execute. But because the atheist brain is improperly utilized in opposing the plan of the Lord, the atheistic plan maker is called duskriti, which indicates that his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. Okay, the Gita, it is in the Gita, it is clearly mentioned that material energy works fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. It has no independent authority. It works as the shadow moves in accordance with the movements of the object. But still, material energy is very powerful, and the atheist, due to his godless temperament, cannot know how it works, nor can he know the plan of the Supreme Lord. Under illusion and the methods of passion under illusion and the modes of passion and ignorance, all his plans are baffled, as in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, whose plans were smashed to dust, although they were both materially learned as scientists, philosophers, administrators, and educators. These Duskritinas, or miscreants, are of four different patterns as outlined below. So we see that Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, all these people are very, very intelligent people, but then they are duskriti. Their meritorious work is misdirected, or in a wrong way it is directed. And such miscreants are categorized into four. The first one is the Muda. So the Mudas are those who are grossly foolish, like hard-working beasts of burden. We know that story of a donkey. The donkey, it works very hard for the master, but then he gets a little bunch of grass which is available anywhere. He doesn't need to work for the master so hard to get that little grass. So but then he works so hard, so they want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves, and so do not want to part with them for the supreme. The typical example of beast of burden is an ass or a donkey. This humble beast is made to work very hard by his master. The ass does not really know for whom he works so hard day and night. He remains satisfied by filling his stomach with with a bundle of grass, sleeping for a while under the fear of being beaten again by his master, and satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. The ass sings poetry and philosophy sometimes. So it's the braying of the ass is called as the poetry and philosophy here. The ass sings sometimes poetry and philosophy. No, but this braying sound only disturbs others. It is not beneficial for anybody. It just disturbs others. So this is the position of the foolish fruitive worker who does not know for whom he should work. He does not know that karma action is meant for yajna or sacrifice. Work or yajna means, like work or karma means like it's yajna. So it has to be an action meant for pleasing the Lord. Every single activity has to be an action which is meant for pleasing the Lord, right? Okay. Most often, those who work very hard day and night to clear the burden of self created duties say that they have no time to hear of immortality of the living being. So such mudas, like, they will always be working very hard, and if you ask them, no, why don't you hear some Krishna Katha, why don't you chant a little bit? No, there is no time. It's like life is very busy. Life is very busy, but it will come to an end also at some point in time. What have you done for the next destination? What preparation have you done to go to the next destination? You're so busy working, but one day everything will stop. So what will happen? But the Mudas, nothing enters into their dull brains. No, they just simply continue working, 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 and one day they die. That's all, right? To such Mudas, material gains which are destructible are lives all in all, despite the fact that the Mudas enjoy only a very small fraction of the fruit of labor. Sometimes they spend sleepless days and nights for fruitive gain, and although they may have ulcers or indigestion, they are satisfied with practically no food. They are simply absorbed in working hard day and night for the benefit of illusory masters. Ignorant of their real master, the foolish worker waste their valuable time serving mammons. Mammon. What does this word mammon means? Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Wealth regarded as an evil influence or false object of worship and devotion. Okay, it was taken by the. Okay, so this is part of covetousness. So so now we see that they keep serving these false masters or evil masters. So Kripana Durajana, Chapala Sukala Balagire. So there is a wonderful bhajan, Bhajahure Mana. So in that this thing comes like I have Bifale Sevinu, Bifale means like without any actual fruit of means at the end of the life I have to give up everything that I've earned and I have to go empty handed. So Bifale, no, there is no Bifale Sevinu, Kripana Durajana. So Chapala Sukala Balagire. So I have served all wicked and useless masters. And what is the benefit? There is no benefit. No, I'm not going to get any benefit when I'm leaving this body because of all that hard work that I've done for all these illusory masters. Right? So we have to start serving the Supreme Lord, who's the real master. Okay, unfortunately, they never surrender to the Supreme Master of all masters, nor do they take time to hear from him from the proper sources. The swine who eats the night soil do not care to accept sweet meats made of sugar and ghee, right? So, like, so the pigs, they cannot understand what's the taste of sugar and ghee, no? Similarly, the foolish workers will untiringly continue to hear of sense gratification or sense enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world, but will have very little time to hear about the eternal living force that moves the material world. It's actually poetry, which no, Srila Prabhupada writes here. You see that? No, it's like very, very rhyming. The swines who eat the night soil do not care to accept sweet meats made of sugar and ghee. Similarly, the foolish worker will untiringly continue to hear of the sense enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world, no, but will have very little time to hear about the eternal living force that moves the material world. Right? Very, very rhyming, actually. Prabhupada is a kavi, like he writes its purports. So much of kavita is there like this. No. Okay. Another class of Duskriti or miscreant is called the Naradama or the lowest of mankind. Nara means human beings and Adama means the lowest. Out of 84 lakh different species of living beings, there are 4 lakh species of human beings. And then out of these, there are innumerable, out of these, numerous lower forms of human life that are mostly uncivilized. So the species, when we say, we look like all human beings are the same, and where like human being is one species, in that where are 4 lakh species? Yes, based on the elevation of consciousness, there are different species even amongst the human beings. No, it's like mind-boggling to know that no, there are 4 lakh species of human beings are there, and most of them are uncivilized. No, very, very few of these human species are civilized. They can understand something higher. So the civilized human beings are those who have regulative principles of social, political, and religious life. Those who are socially and politically developed but who have no religious principles must be considered Naradama. Nor is religion without God religion, because the purpose of following the religious principle is to know the supreme truth and man's relationship with him. In Gita, the personality of Godhead clearly states that there is no authority above him and that he is the supreme truth. Mattaha parataram na anyat kinti jasti dhananjaya mai sarva idam protam sutre maniganaiva. So mattaha parataram na anyat. No, there is no one who is superior to him. Right? So the civilized form of human life is meant for man's reviving the lost consciousness of his eternal relationship with the supreme truth, the personality of God, Sri Krishna, who is all powerful. That's the point of religion. If somebody says, I'll follow all the good principles, I'll be good with people, I'll do all the religious principles, but don't ask me to worship the Lord. So then he's irreligious, he's atheistic. No, we may say, no, he's doing good to people. So why do you call him atheistic? Atheistic because he doesn't accept the authority of God, then he becomes atheistic, right? Theism means to accept a God. Theism means not social service. Theism is not being good with people. Theism means to accept the authority of God, right? So that's theism. And if a theistic person, if he is not so well behaved, over a period of time, it's just matter of time, he will become well behaved. But an atheist, if he is not God conscious, he is having very good qualities of helping people. He is very good with so many knowledge and skills and things like that. What's the use? No, this is nicely mentioned in the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yashasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunesh tatra samasate surah harava bhaktasya kuto mahat gunan. So harava bhaktasya, one who is not a devotee, one who is an atheist, what good qualities are there? Kuto mahat gunan. What is a good quality that is there in him? There's no good quality that is there. Because even if we find some good quality, because they are not taking shelter of the Lord, it's matter of time they'll lose that good quality. They are in the path gliding down into the material pool. So they'll definitely give up that good quality. But on the contrary, if somebody is not well behaved, but if he is having the quality of surrender to the Supreme Lord and he's trying to practice Krishna consciousness, it's matter of time he will develop all the good qualities. Okay, so we get information from the revealed scriptures um, that when a baby is in the mother's womb, an extremely uncomfortable situation, he prays to God for deliverance and promises to worship him alone as soon as he gets out. To pray to God when he is in difficulty is a natural instinct in every living being because he is eternally related with God. So very, very amazing natural phenomena here it's mentioned. The natural instinct, it's to approach God. But after his deliverance, the child forgets the difficulties of birth and forgets his deliverer also by being influenced by Maya, the illusory energy. It is the duty of the guardians of children to revive the divine consciousness dormant in them. The 10 processes of reformatory ceremonies, Dashavida Samskaras, right, are enjoined in Manusmriti, which is the guide to the religious principles. Uh, are meant for reviving God consciousness in the system of Varnashrama. However, no process is strictly followed now in any part of the world, and therefore 99.9% of population is Naradama. Maybe like somewhere by random, this one, we may find some proper Nara. Nara means like human being, and Nara Adama means like lowest among the human being. So practically the whole world is filled with Naradama. So when the whole population becomes Naradama, naturally all their so-called education is made null and void by the all-powerful energy of physical nature. According to the standard of the Gita, a learned man is he who sees on equal terms the learned Brahmana, the dog, the cow, the elephant, and the dog eater. That is the vision of a true devotee. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is the incarnation of Godhead as divine master, delivered the typical Naradamas, the brothers Jagai and Madai, and showed how the mercy of a real devotee is bestowed upon the lowest of mankind. So this will actually take some time if we have to explain this pastime. So Jagai and Madai were very, very rude and cruel murderers, plunderers, and things like that. But Nityananda Prabhu, who's the Balaram himself, the brother of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he delivers these Jagai and Madai. So in that way, like we see that the Supreme Lord No, he delivers even the lowest of the people. So the Naradama, who's condemned by the personality of Godhead, can again revive his spiritual consciousness only by the mercy of a devotee. Right? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in propagating the Bhagavad Dharma or activities of the devotees, has recommended that people submissively hear the message of personality of Godhead. The essence of this message is Bhagavad Gita. The lowest among human beings can be delivered by this submissive hearing process only. But unfortunately, they even refuse to give an oral reception to these messages. And what to speak of surrendering to the will of the Supreme Lord? Naradamas, or the lowest of the mankind, willfully neglect the prime duty of human being. Okay, so then the next class of Duskriti is called Maya Apahata Jnana, or those persons whose erudite knowledge has been nullified by the influence of illusory energy or illusory material energy. So now you may find some overlap of definitions of these four categories. The first is Muda, grossly illusion, and then second is Naradama, lowest among the mankind, and third is Maya Apahata Jnana, whose intelligence is stolen away by the material nature. Right? So the definitions, all definitions may overlap each other. That's not a problem. So there are a great number of Maya Prahita Jnana at the present moment, even amongst the scholars of Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, in plain and simple language, it is stated that Sri Krishna is the personality of Godhead. There is none equal to or greater than him. He is mentioned as the father of Brahma, the original father of all human beings. In fact, Sri Krishna is said to be not only the father of Brahma, but also father of all species of life. He is the root of the impersonal Brahman and Paramatma. The super soul in every living entity is this plenary portion. It's just an kala, it is mentioned, plenary portion, or it's a complete expansion of the Lord, but it is called as it's an extension, or it's a very, very small part. Means not in the sense of like the living entities being small. So the Lord's portions of the Lord, kala, no, it is mentioned as kala. So kala means portion. So then the super soul in every living entity is his plenary portion. He is the fountainhead of everything, and everyone is advised to surrender unto his lotus feet. Despite all that, all these clear statements, the Maya Aparita Jnana deride the personality of Supreme Lord and consider him merely another human being. They do not know that the blessed form of human life is designed after the eternal and transcendental feature of the Supreme Lord. Right? So we have this human form of life. No, man is made of the image of God, right? So that's like we have come very, very close to Krishna, by coming to human form of life, and yet we have to perform, sincere devotional service to progress further. Okay, all unauthorized interpretations of the Gita by the class of Maya Aparita Jnana outside the purview of Parampara system are so many stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual understanding. And the deluded interpreters do not surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, nor do they teach others to follow this principle. Okay, the last class of Duskriti is called Ashuram Bhavam Ashritaha, or those of demoniac principles. This class is openly atheistic. Some of them argue that the Supreme Lord can never descend upon the material world, but they are unable to give any tangible reasons as to why not. There are others who make him subordinate to the impersonal feature, although the opposite is declared in Gita. Envious of the Supreme Personality of God, and the atheist will present a number of illicit incarnations manufactured in the factory of his brain. So this, you see, like they will not accept the Supreme Lord, but they will manufacture so many gods and they will let them in the market. So such persons whose very principle of life is to decry the personality of Godhead cannot surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. So Sri Yamunacharya Alabandaru of South India uh, said, "O my Lord, you are unknowable to persons involved with atheistic principles, despite your uncommon qualities, features, and activities, despite your personalities being confirmed by all revealed scriptures in the quality of goodness, and despite your being acknowledged by famous authorities renowned for their depth of knowledge in the transcendental science and situated in godly qualities. Therefore, grossly foolish persons, the lowest among the mankind, the deluded speculators, the professed atheists, as above mentioned, never surrender unto the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, in spite of all scriptural and authoritative advice. Jai. So, come to end of this particular shloka. So we will stop here. It's also time for us to stop. So today is the auspicious Ekadashi, and it's in South India. It's celebrated as Vaikuntha Ekadashi. So one who goes through the Vaikuntha Dwar in the various Vishnu temples is considered to be liberated, or he's given the opportunity to enter into the Vaikuntha. So that's the auspicious this one. Now, for us, every Ekadashi is very important. And in this Ekadashi, like if you have not subscribed for any book distribution, you're not going out for any book distribution and things like that, you can possibly ask some contacts from the Calling Sankirtan party, and then you can get some contacts and call them up and wish them a happy Vaikuntha Ekadashi, and then we can request them to take a book. So in that way we can do book distribution over phone. So that's also quite amazingly working. So, and I request devotees to spend some time in distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. And evening we have the Gita overview session in another 6 languages. So that is Tamil is there, Bengali is there, Kannada is there, and then English, Hindi, and Telugu is there. So most of you have heard the overview session. It's not for you. You can forward this message to as many people as possible, so that people may join this sessions, right? So with this humble request, I finish today's talk, today's reading session. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Book Marathon ki jai.